Hello. Cari here, self-kindness coaching. Going to talk all about why our brains are so good at um, being hard on us. That's the topic for today. And I'm realizing it's a little bit bright in here, so okay, there we go. I can share my screen. Oh, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. Hello. Welcome to Kindness for Lunch. Other than kindness, what are you having for lunch? I didn't want to eat on camera today just because I had leftover chili with rice and quinoa. And it was great. What are you having for lunch? Or what did you have for lunch if you're joining somewhere farther east? Hey there. Just checking in on how your kindness levels are for this week. Are you being hard on yourself? How is that affecting how you show up in the world? My guess is it's affecting it a fair bit. And I just realized I don't have my microphone in, so maybe you can hear me better now. When we're hard on ourselves, it affects everything in our life. And when it comes to trying to get healthier, it absolutely affects every single choice that you make. We think that it's just like, oh, I just don't have the right diet, or I'm just not working hard enough, or something like that. But every single choice you make is coming from a foundation of how you feel about yourself, how you show up for yourself from how you feel about yourself. I'll give you a good example. I had a client many years ago. I've been doing this work for almost 10 years now, over 10 years. And let's say her name was Jen. That's not her name, but let's just say it was. Jen was working really hard on her weight loss, her well-being, and she would Monday morning, she'd always be like, okay, this is it. This is going to be the week when I really do everything right. I'm gonna be right on track with my nutrition. I'm gonna do all the exercise that I have planned, and she would just, like, no matter what, she'd make it happen. She'd force herself, um, you know, often, like, focusing on all the things that weren't quite perfectly done, but she'd just keep pushing, right? And then Friday would come, and she was a very social person. And so, yeah, totally, right? She was a very social person. And so on Fridays, no matter how she tried to make it not happen, she would have this extreme need to just, like, release herself from all of the pressure and all of the restriction of the week. And she'd kind of just, like, go totally off book for the whole weekend. She'd eat whatever she wanted, probably not enjoying it very much, just kind of, like, shoveling it in. She wouldn't really exercise. She'd just kind of have to, like, just let go of all of the rules and the restrictions and everything, while also feeling bad about those choices every step of the way, right? And then Sunday would come around, and she would kind of go like, "Oh crap! Now I've done it. I've messed up my whole regime, and now what am I gonna do? I could just say screw it, and I screwed it up, and that's it. I'm done, right?" Which often did happen as well. Or she would, like, say, "No, I'm knuckling under, and I'm going to I'm going to fix all my mistakes. I'm going to push really hard, and try to get, like, back on track, right?" But it was this cycle. She was cycling around this for, years, and just so sick of the cycle, right? She's like, how do I just be? How do I just make good choices and not have to go through these cycles of restriction and guilt, and then abandoning all the restriction and going too far and so on. And so one of the things we worked on was acknowledging through each of her choices, how was she talking to herself? What was the inner dialogue that was under all of those choices? And part of it was that when she, like Monday morning, it was like, oh my goodness, I have made such a problem for myself. I've done all the wrong things on the weekend. I have to get back on track, or I'm a terrible lazy person. Basically, I think that, like, she had some kind of message for herself that basically said she's a worthless person because she had gone off of all of her diet and exercise rules and everything. And so to try to do something to be less of a terrible person, she would go back to this place of restriction and like not tuning into herself at all, just like push and force herself to eat things that she didn't like, and to push herself harder in exercise than she wanted to and stuff, because she was trying to fix the problem of herself, right? And then on Fridays, she would go the other side of the spectrum, where she would be like, this isn't working. I'm still fat. It's like, I'm not succeeding. Screw it, right? And I'm going to fail anyway, so I might as well just fail and have fun. So that's what would lead her to kind of like, I guess it was probably a bit of binging type of behaviors, not exercising, and so on. So either way, whether she was restricting herself or releasing herself from all the restriction, she was believing a voice inside that said, you're no good, your body's no good, and whatever you do, you better try to fix it. And so that, at its base level, she was believing something that feels terrible, right? Like, imagine if someone was standing in front of you and saying that to your face. It would feel terrible, especially if that someone was someone who's known you your whole life, who you generally trust, right? It would feel terrible. And that's how it feels inside our own minds when we restrict ourselves. So to that point, then, if you think about right now, what is your mind telling you about you right now, without judgment, right? Like, there's no good or bad statements to this. It's just, what is the message inside? What is the voice that I'm listening to? What is it saying? And I want to know. I want to hear from you in the chat, because that's my only way to to hear from you. I want to know, what is your mind telling you about you right now? I should have music for this. Hearts are going up. Yeah, that's nice. I appreciate it. Well, I'll tell you what my mind is telling me. My mind is telling me, and this is partly because I've worked on this in myself for a long time. My mind is telling me that that I'm working too hard. That's what my mind is telling me. My mind is giving me a message of, pay attention. Pay attention to your well-being, because I'm in a little bit of that place where I'm pushing a little bit. And so I have built a relationship with my thoughts that is kind and is supportive. And that's why when I look inside, not always for sure, uh, but oftentimes I find something that's supportive. I did have something the other day where I chose to go to the gym. My kids were hanging out and seemed to be busy with their own stuff, so I chose to go to the gym. And then when I got back, my youngest was like, "Where did you go? I was going to do this with you." And I felt bad after. I was like, "Oh man, I'm such a bad parent. Like, if I just hung out around the house, like when she needed me, I would have been there. And I'm a bad parent." Right? So that was the message. But from my training in this area, I pulled that out and I said, okay, my brain is trying to tell me that I am a bad parent because I didn't just hang out in case somebody needed me and I went and did something that takes care of my own well being. Is that accurate? Is that true? And I bet you can guess just from hearing that the answer is no, it's not true. There's nothing that says that I'm a bad parent because I left the house for an hour while my busy teens were being busy. Right? So once I acknowledge that thought that felt like truth, it felt terrible. It felt like, oh my God, I'm a bad parent. That's maybe I should just, never go to the gym when the kids are home or whatever, right? Um, it took that horrible thought and it brought it into the light and it showed me that thought is not factual. It's not helpful. But if it was factual, then it would be helpful, right? But it's not factual. What is it then? What is that? Where does that come from? Well, I mean, psychologically, it comes from the part of our brain that is trying to protect us. It's always looking for the worst case scenario in any given moment. And in that moment, there was no, tiger coming at me or car about to crash into my house or something. So, but that part of my brain is still looking for something to protect me from. And so then it looked into me and it's like, ooh, what is the worst case scenario about me that maybe we should protect her from, right? And so it basically it makes stuff up. I would swear right now it makes stuff up. It's not factual. So I'll ask you again. What is your mind? What is something that your mind told you about you today? What is something? And you would have felt it. Um, you would have felt it as if it was true, but it often isn't, especially if it's negative. It's often not factual. So what is something that your mind told you? We've got a quiet crowd today. Yes, that's great. That's great to be a beach master. I had a client the other day who was just trying to leave the house. She struggled with her wellness, her weight for a long, long time, and it's gotten to the point when I met her where she was finding excuses to not leave the house because she didn't want to face imagining what other people are thinking about her and the judgment that might be coming at her and so on. So she was believing a thought in her head that says you're too gross to be seen out in public. And she was believing that as if it was like fact. strict, true, like you can't leave the house because you're too gross for people to look at. Now, just imagine that being said to you by somebody who knows you, who's been with you your whole life, who is supposed to care about you, right? And this is the message that you're receiving. That's brutal. Absolutely brutal. And that's just an ordinary thought for her, right? And so in our work together, part of where she had to start was even just acknowledging that thought. Acknowledge that that's the message that you are feeling and receiving inside yourself. Imagine that's the atmosphere in which you're trying to succeed at life, is receiving those messages, right? So now she started to be able to have compassion for herself of like, oh my God, yeah, when I believe that thought that I am too big and gross to be seen out in public, it's no wonder that I try not to leave the house, and I avoid looking at myself in the mirror, and I avoid going out and exercising, and I turn to things that give me even just a small moment of comfort, which, as you can imagine, is often food, right? It's the thing at hand. It's the thing that, for so many of us, has brought us the most consistent relief from our inner pain. And so even though a lot of our inner pain has been related to our weight and what we're doing or not doing about that, we still have food as the place where we so often go to relieve that pain, which, as you can imagine, of course, as you know, is an endless cycle. So checking in again, because we've got someone new here today, we're asking the question, what is a thought that your mind has tried to tell you today about you? So it sounds like my mind is trying to tell me that and then something. I'll put this in the chat. That's the question. What is your mind trying to tell you about you today? And if it's negative, well, negative or positive, but especially, I mean, God, what is it? It's something like 70% of our daily thoughts are negative. Some of that is just part of our brain protecting us, keeping us alive, but so much of that, when the negativity is turned towards ourself, that inner dialogue that's just constantly going, if it's negative, so often, and I wish I had an actual statistic for this, but just from my own professional experience, like 85% of the time, it's not very factual. When the inner dialogue is really negative about you, it's rarely actually factual. It's usually opinion, conjecture. I actually have often called it Fox News. Because just like Fox News, it's incessant. It's trying to keep you living in fear. It's not factual, just like Fox News. Oh, nice. That's great that you had a goal and it turned out even better than than you imagine, which is fantastic. Yeah, so when you can start to turn your negative thoughts around, you pull them out and say, what is my brain trying to tell me right now? Oh my gosh, it's trying to tell me that um, so back to Jen, her brain was trying to keep her from going out. It was trying to say, you're too big and gross to even go out. When she pulled it back and realized that that is not obviously factual, there's no facts to that. It's just hurtful opinion. The next thing for her to do was find something just a little more true than that negative thing. So I encourage you to do the same. If your brain is telling you something negative and not factual, what is something just a little more true? So for Jen, what was a little more true was that, I'm trying to remember. I mean, she's had many things, but one of the ones that stuck out for me, and this one's so often true. She said, what's a little more true is that I'm doing my best. I don't know what's in other people's heads, what they think. I can imagine and I can internalize that judgment, but I'm not actually going to know what's in their head. And then I'm doing my best. And just by sitting in those two facts, she started to feel some release of the pressure. And yes, she does love walking, to answer your question. But she was holding herself back from going for walks because she'd gotten to that point where she thought that she was believing that thought that she wasn't allowed. She was too big, too big and gross to go out for a walk. So she started believing, the facts that she is doing her best, whatever that is every day, and that she has no idea what people are actually thinking. Of course, we think we can interpret the looks and so on, and sure, a lot of times you might be right, but to imagine that your brain can not only read other people's minds, which is like a superpower, but it can also tell the future that if you go out of the house, you will see these people who are going to have these thoughts, and therefore you should stay home. Right? We're just not that powerful. I'm sorry. Or I'm happy to tell you, you're not that powerful. You have to find the facts and base your decisions on the facts. Yeah. Well, and that's a great place to be, to love what you're doing more than how much you ever could love what other people might think. I mean, that's the goal, ultimately, right? To care more about how it feels for you as a person, as an individual, than what other people think. That is the goal, which so many of us aspire to and have no idea how to get to. That's the truth. So this is baby steps to that goal. To just begin to unpack one thought a day on what your mind is telling you about you. And if you're on a wellness or weight loss journey, look for the if there's a block. Like, let's say you know what you're supposed to do. And this is deeper actually than fake it till you make it, because fake it till you make it is faking it. It's not actually believing it. But when you can find facts, so let's say at the end of today, or throughout the rest of today. Maybe there's something that you had intended to do for yourself, for your wellness or weight loss journey. When you're planning to do it, there's going to be some kind of resistance that comes up, some kind of barrier. Your mind is going to try to talk you out of it. It's going to want you to distract yourself instead of doing it, something like that. Just pause for a bit and ask yourself, okay, just in this moment, when I think about doing this thing that I've decided is helpful and healthy for me, what is my brain telling me about that act? And you'll uncover this negative assumption or opinion or something, and you're already believing it, which would then lead you to not following through on whatever that thing is that you plan to do. So in that moment, when you pause and you're like, whoa, my brain's trying to tell me that just because my neighbor is thin and fit, and whenever I see them out, I always feel like they're comparing, how fit they are and how unfit I am. That was going to keep me from going out for a walk because in case I see my neighbor or whatever. Whoa, okay. Is that factual? Is it true? And if it isn't, which 90 times, 8 times out of 10 at least, if it's negative about you, it's not true. What is something a little more true? Well, I know it's a fact that it's a beautiful day, and no matter how long I walk for, I will feel better after. That's a fact. Okay, that is a solid fact. You know the weather, you know your typical response to walking. Those are facts. Now, base your decision making on those facts instead of on the negative opinion in your head that was just so mean and so incorrect on what it thinks it has the ability to know. You don't know actually what's in your neighbor's head. You don't know that they're even going to be out there to see you, right? Like, you don't know any of these things. So now you're at a place where you can choose to follow through based on what you do know. And what's also really beautiful about this is when you click into those facts, they often feel really good. Like the fact of no matter how long I walk for, I'll be glad that I did it. That's always true. So just sit with that, feel that, yeah. Recall for yourself when that has been true. Let that recollection fill you up. Let it become alive in you. Yeah, God, that's such a good feeling. I can almost smell the air. Like right now there's snow outside. I love that smell of snow and spruce trees. Oh, now I'm actually hungry to go for a walk. Aha! So now we don't care about some neighbor or what other people think. You're focused on the facts of what you'll get from something and let that lead you to following through. This is how building kindness for yourself is a gentle path to progress, right? Because you're not making a huge leap. All of a sudden, I love myself and I'm going to approve of everything I do. It's too far. It's too hard. But you can take one thought at a time and bring a little action, a little kindness and compassion and fact, and then follow through. And then see how you feel. I hope that happens for you today. I hope you examine one of your thoughts. Find something that is truer and kinder, and then follow through on that truth and that inner support and then feel how that feels, right? And then you have this beautiful snowball. And I hope you will join us this Thursday night at 6:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Check our website. We're having a free webinar. So join us then. We're going to answer questions. We're going to talk about bringing kindness to your weight loss. And we'll hopefully see you there. Thank you so much for joining today.